Arguing and fighting is somewhat of a habit of a lot of children and most adults nowadays, but it is still not considered that much of an issue until it's inside the courtroom, as it is essential to be in your best behavior inside court. No, you aren't mistaken. Today, we're bringing to you 12 Karens who were called and decided to throw a tantrum in front of the honorable court. The most absurd thing one can think of doing at a courtroom is to randomly show up without any context and waste the court's time. In the first video, we see a woman who unexpectedly shows up to court without any summon or valid reason. The judge labels it as a personal vendetta she had with the man whose case was going on. And the judge didn't let her go in vain. She was charged with a $500 cost for contempt of court, which she had to pay on the spot. This wasn't the end. This Karen decided to take it further and say that it was fixed, only leading to the judge being even more frustrated with her. If you ever end up causing some trouble and being called to court, take the advice and do not insult the judge at all. Trust me, because the man called Brian Noval didn't, and what happened to him is not at all desirable. It all started when Judge John Hurley read his sentence, and Brian was not at all happy with what he was being charged with.
Further order of the court. Thank you.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, no.
He decided to follow the rule of like for like and starts to retaliate when the judge reached the verdict to stay unswayed. As the judge was delivering his sentence, Brian started to swear at the judge, which left him in shock, disbelief, and complete rage. As the judge decided to call him back at the stand and asked him to repeat what he said, Brian then accepts what he did and apologizes half-heartedly for his behavior. He was held guilty for contempt of court and sentenced to 60 days in jail. When in dubiety, Brian starts to swear again at the judge jokingly. But to no surprise, he was called back in, and an additional 60 says were added to his sentence, making it a total of 120 days. Don't you think he should have just kept his mouth shut? However, after 4 days, the judge actually allowed him out, determining that he must have gotten his lesson. Although cussing and disrespecting the court is one of the worst things you can do, laughing can be way more hazardous to you. We are talking about Amanda Kosar, who was caught drunk driving, which led to an extremely tragic accident, severely injuring Jerome Zucker and his fiancée. While the judge was delivering the verdict, her mother decided to start snickering and laughing at the judge, which infuriated the judge. First off, she was asked to leave the courtroom, and later she was given a jail time of 93 days.
This is a court of law. You cannot come down to the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice and act any way you want to act.
After which, the judge releases her anger and disbelief with heightened intensity, challenging anybody who's willing to try it. The next person we are going to talk about decided not to leave with dignity. It's understandable that divorce can be hard to deal with, but that doesn't allow one to be irritable and cranky with any and everybody. Well, here you can see the defendant starting to argue with the judge because she was unhappy with the judgment being passed. The heat started escalating, and the woman leapt in to attack the judge and was obviously tackled by the security. It's hard to comprehend what she was trying to do by attacking the judge. It won't be helping her at all in even the most wild case scenarios. Okay, but we need to consider the fact that judges are humans too, and sometimes they might decide to not go easy on specific people for various reasons. We are now about to show you a case where the judge didn't go easy on her because of the brutality done by her in the murder she was charged with. He emphasized how inhumane she was and how she kept stabbing the victim again and again and again. The judge didn't hold back on emotions, as he was truly horrified because of her actions. Even after sentencing her with life in jail without parole, he decided to double the sentence after agreeing to the victim's family. He openly admitted and hoped that she'd die in prison. Judge McBain has still managed to keep his job to this day, even after numerous controversies and new headlines that he's made through the years for standing up and openly speaking whatever he felt. What's the wildest way you've seen someone shoot their shot? The one we're going to show to you right now has to be one of the most extraordinary ways. I bet you won't have seen someone flirt inside the courtroom and on top of everything, with the judge itself. Well, you must have gotten the gist of what you're going to see. Yes, you'll see a guy flirting with the judge who was convicting him, and the judge simply accepts the compliments. Collapsing at schools to escape an unwanted situation is for sure something that kids decide to do, but we do not know if she faked it or not. We're now talking about Diana Jean Lovejoy. A woman who was getting her sentence of murder for hire plots towards ex-husband. who luckily managed to survive even after being shot. It was seen that Diana wasn't able to accept the fact that she was going to go to prison and look around in disbelief.
Diana Jean Lovejoy, guilty of the crime of attempted murder of Greg Mulvihill.
Hoping everything would be a dream, which to her bad luck wasn't fake, and it all became too much for her to handle as she collapsed inside the courtroom. The security decided to help her back on her feet. It was for nothing. Although her collapsing didn't help her with the 26 years in prison that she was sentenced to for the conspiracy to commit murder. Police officers are there for our safety and deserve our due respects. This man decided to hawk up his saliva and spit on the faces of 2 police sergeants, because of which he was brought to court. Proceedings were going further, as per usual, until everything got heated up, and he resolutes to tell the judge not to raise her voice at him, which caused gasps on the faces of people present there, including the judge. Thereafter, he starts to swear excessively on everybody around when the judge orders for him to be taken out of court, and he was later sentenced by Pilcher via a televised hearing where it was declared that he was convicted of battery for spitting in the faces of 2 police officers. Is spitting some sort of a trend now? As our next listmate decided to spit on the face of the judge. Guys, we are talking about Bass Webb. Bass Webb couldn't hold it in, and when, according to him, things were going out of control, he spat on the face of the judge. Before being brought to the court, he caused riots in the jail and assaulted officers, because of which he was sentenced to 15 years in jail for the 3rd-degree assault involving the jail riots, and an additional 37 years in prison for the initial case of assaults, which means he was sentenced to a total of 52 years in prison. Everybody has a limit, and when it comes to patience, people tend to have a very little range for the same. This video shows an event where the woman kept interrupting and speaking in between the judge, which caused the judge to lose it. She kept talking instead of taking the oath until the judge slammed her gavel down, telling her that this isn't Burger King.
I know you want to control this room, but this isn't Burger King.
Well, as we all know, cranky teenagers are too hard to handle, but they should cut others some slack and behave a bit. We are talking about Penelope Soto, a teenager who decided to show the middle finger to the judge after hearing her sentence. The judge calls her back to confirm what she just did, and once he understood her motive behind it, he added 30 days to her sentence. And to no surprise, the teenager in much sass repeats the behavior all over again, but later ends up apologizing to the judge, court, as well as her parents. So that was it for the video. Let us know how you would discipline the people who cause such nuisances on a daily basis. That's all for this video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and wait for our next video.